Hey everybody, welcome to Leo's Chainsaw Parts and Repair. This will be the quietest background of a video's been in months. Fall's in the air, folks. Happy Labor Day, number one. Hope everybody is having a good weekend. Hope you're getting a long weekend. It's always a nice thing. Yeah, like I say, fall is in the air. It's 65 degrees out here right now. Cloudy. We've had rain, well, off and on drizzle. It's not real rain, but we recorded about 0.35 inches over the last few days. Helped the wildfires immensely. That beast down there in Northern California, Southern Oregon, southwestern extreme, right on Highway 199. Looks like they're finally starting to get their arms around that. Some of those small communities, Tacoma and O'Brien, probably are breathing a little bit better in more ways than one than they were, say, a week ago. So, anyway, yeah, fall's in the air. So, an update on move progress. It's going slower than even I expected. I kind of knew that was going to be a thing because we're tied to a lot of other folks' timelines that we don't have a lot of control over. So yeah, I wish I could give a good update of when things will be back to normal, when we actually will pick up all of our shit and move. To be very blunt about it, but I was originally anticipating it being this fall. Maybe. Not. I wouldn't lay any serious amount of money on it. My wife and I spent Friday and Saturday up in Staten, which is just outside of Salem, helping my wife's oldest sister do some demo in her house. Took some pretty severe water damage a few years back, and she's just kind of hasn't been living there, so you know what happens when sheetrock gets wet. So we did a lot of flood cut basically at the 4-foot line where moisture had wicked up, and now you got that nice little growth. You guys know what happens. So the cabinets in the kitchen were pretty well wrecked. We had to take up the flooring in the kitchen. That was ceramic tile. Yeah, 2 days of demo got it to a point where my wife's youngest sister's boyfriend will be able to basically start putting the house back together, which is great. I don't have the time or maybe even the energy for that crap. There's some parts of construction that I don't mind at all. Drywall is one of those things. I'll hang it, but I'm not great at mudding and taping, and I don't like it. So, the fact that he's more than willing to go there, perfect for me. Anyway, that's one of the timelines that's impacting what we'll be able to do. The other one, my wife's brother, who's the next kid in line above her in terms of age, a little older than her, quite a bit older than her, doesn't matter. Anyway, he still hasn't finished his house over there in Bend, just yada yada yada, whatever. So, I can't tell you when we're going to move. I've been prepping though. I've been cleaning, trying to get shit in order. It's taken me all summer, but when's the last time you saw the bench this organized? Still a mess around this shop with parts and stuff, but I don't have any more customer saws pending that I'm aware of. The last one will ship out tomorrow. And I've only got a couple more out there, part saws that need to be blown apart and taken care of. So I'm getting really close to being caught up, more caught up than I've been in literally years. So that is good. Yeah, it's taken a bit to get here. In terms of fall firewood, I had not intended to load any wood in here. I hadn't intended to need to have a fire this year. I'm reassessing that judgment, and I think I'm going to bring some wood in here for our own comfort. Yeah, sure, we got the the central heat, but it's not as good as wood heat. Anybody out there who's had wood heat knows that. Yeah, you work your ass off for it, but it feels better. And as the old saying goes, it warms you up more than once, because you got to cut it, you got to split it, you got to stack it, and you burn it. So you get warm at least 4 times there. So anyway, I think I'm going to bring it in. The good news is that means I can do some more videos running saws. Now, I haven't loaded anything in, what, six weeks? Saws? We've been under full hoot owl. I'm sure I've talked about that before, but here on the West Coast, especially Southern Oregon, usually by roughly August, we go into a phase where the public is not allowed to use gas chainsaws, period, because the fire danger is so high. It's just a thing, you know. I kind of plan on it. With the rain we had, they lowered the fire danger from extreme to high, which means I can run a gas saw out in the woods till 10 a.m. again. So maybe next Saturday, go up and do something, which would be damn nice. It would be really nice. And in case you're wondering, if you're in a part of the country where that's just unheard of, right now when you go out in the woods, even with the rain that we've had, the madrone trees that are around the area, they're a member of the laurel family. This is where they shed their leaves. This time, you know, they shed them through the summer. And they will be as dry as you can possibly imagine right now. There's no way to walk through the woods quietly right now. If there's any madrone trees around, it's going to be crunch, crunch, crunch. I mean, that's all you'll hear, is that kind of sound there of those dry leaves cracking. The weeds, you could literally hold a lighter to a stem of dead grass right now and it would take off just instantaneously. You can go from a spark to a 2 or 3 acre grass fire in 10 minutes, especially if there's a bit of a breeze blowing. So that's why they do those restrictions, and that's why I'm a pretty big stickler. Saws that I bring through here, if there was a spark arrestor option available for them, I try to make sure that's in place, because yeah, I've seen it. I've seen it here on the bench where you rev it up good and you see that spark come out, and it's a chunk of hot carbon. That's what it is. And while the spark arrestor will reduce your performance a little bit because it is a restriction, for me, it's worth it. It's worth it. We don't need any more fires. So, anyway, I'm looking forward to getting up on the hill. I think that XL500 that has plagued me forever and a day on runnability, I think I have that resolved, and I will find out the first chance I get, because we still got some dead snags to fall. Oh, what else is going on? Got my list right here, because I always think of good stuff, get on camera and forget. Okay, we got a guy on eBay. This is funny. I don't even know why I let this stuff bother me a little bit. It doesn't bother me enough to contact him, because nothing's going to change, and yeah, there's no, I'm not going to hire a lawyer. It's not worth it. But there's a guy on eBay who has taken the pictures on my website of the parts, you know, the part pictures. And you guys know how I throw my business card in there. If you've never been to my website, you need parts, check it out. But I throw the product up there and I put my business card kind of in the background, just as a watermark, essentially. It was easier than doing a digital watermark every time. So what has he done? He's gone through, and if it was on my website, he's taken the picture and cropped it down and cropped my business card out of it. I first noticed it, I don't know, 3 months ago, I think. And I started actually paying attention to his crap when it shows up. I shouldn't say crap, they're good parts. There's nothing wrong with his parts. But as they'd show up in the daily searches that I run, I'm like, I recognize that. I recognize that. And I can throw them side by side. In fact, I'll find a great example, throw it in here. Like, you son of a bitch. And I thought at first, God, are you really saving time? And then I thought about the staging process, and, you know, getting the part out of the box, out of the bag, throwing it next to a business card, or watermarking it digitally. And yeah, he's saving time. He probably cut his time down by a third. So, however you choose to look at it, either he's a genius or a jackass. Maybe both. But like, God, some people just it drives me nuts a little bit. Maybe because I didn't do it, not because I didn't think about it, but I wanted a brand when I started really doing this seriously in that business card. You know, there's some not trademarks in the sense of trademark, but things that you can identify with my business, like that business card being in there. Like the fact in my business card, when I combined these pictures, that blue Super XL that's there, you can see a stupid Burger King cup in the background. I mean, it's me, it's real, it's not staged or, whatever. It's just, yeah, it's how I operate. The red shop stool that all the saws get pictured on, it's, God, and if I had $1 for every time one of my saw pictures appeared in a for sale ad, it's like, you people. Anyway, yeah, that was kind of funny when I saw that. And speaking of eBay and new old stock parts and all of that, I like to every once in a while chat about what I'm seeing going on, availability of parts, and it's still pretty good. But I've said before, every year, a little less, and a little less, and a little less. And that is definitely carried forward. I have bought very little in the way of new old stock parts in 2023. And it's not for a lack of looking out at stuff. I've had a few people contact me through the website, but they were almost, it felt like window shopping, you know what I mean? When someone says, hey, I got blah blah, I got a bunch of old parts, my first response is, hey, can you send me some pictures, or, a list if you have it, and let me know what you're thinking for a price. Because I want, that's how I do business. Straight up, that's how I do business. I don't want to try and guess what somebody thinks the value of their parts are, and yeah, so usually I would say 1 out of 4 gets back to me right away and says, oh yeah, here's the stuff, I was thinking about somewhere in this range. If that's not right, let me know. Then we have the dialogue. Just hasn't been happening this year, so we all knew it was coming. Again, the McCulloch guys dealt with it a long time ago. Us HomeLight guys are dealing with it in, more real terms now, because there's just not as many parts left out of there. Jeff back in New York has gobbled up probably just damn near anything within a 1,000-mile radius of him that has come up for sale. He's really been effective, but I noticed on Facebook that he sold a whole trailer load of parts to somebody. I don't have any idea who, but I'm talking a semi-trailer, like the 43-foot or 53-footer, full NOS HomeLight parts. So I'm waiting to see a new seller pop up, or maybe one just really expand a lot. Hopefully it's not the guy stealing my photos. God, wouldn't that be great? Okay, so speaking of new old stock parts, there's some things that are really hard to get. Like, let's say, an oil diaphragm for a Super 2 chainsaw. That's been hard to get for a while, and it's been expensive for quite some time. A gentleman emailed me 2 weeks ago, maybe, said, hey, I've been doing some reproduction carburetor parts, and just other things, and I kind of what do you got on the HomeLight side? And pretty much for carburetor stuff right now, it seems like the HomeLight side is pretty well covered. Even the brown carburetors found on those early 50s models, you can pretty much find what you need. But I just Wild Hair said, hey, this diaphragm is a real pain in the neck to find, and when you do find it, it's really expensive. And I showed him the one that's available on eBay right now, and I want to say the seller has a $59.99, so it's the diaphragm and the 2 gaskets. That's pretty rough for a saw that was $130 new back in the day. That's a little rough. But if you got no choice, you got no choice. You're going to pay it. So my advice to him was, hey, if you can do something with this diaphragm at about half that price, you'll probably sell gobs of them. At least at first. I mean, there's a pent-up demand there. After the first couple months of sales, it'd probably peter off down to a more normal level, but so he's taking a stab at it. I sent him a blown one and one good one that I had for him to look at, and I think he's got a prototype ready to send back to me. So that was the idea, was that I would actually test it out for durability. So I can think of no better way of doing that than to take my Super 2 that I use for firewood cutting and throw that diaphragm in there and just take it for a test run, and see how it does. The diaphragm material is not hard to match up. I told him that straight up, and he knew that. But it's getting the plunger. So he had talked about perhaps a repair option, which I guess would involve unriveting that old diaphragm versus a full reproduction. So I don't know which way he's going with it, but I know he intends to have one ready soon. I've heard through the rumor mill that Little Red Barn will be releasing one, and I haven't got the foggiest clue what the cost will be on that, but if I was taking a wild ass guess, that $25 to $30 range, man, that would sell like hotcakes. And you look at a lot of their other reproduction parts that they've got, the bar plates and all of that, they've priced them competitively. Now, I know they buy stuff in massive quantities, like we're talking thousands at a time, and that's how you can get that price down. And that's part of why I've never gotten into the reproduction parts business, because I don't have the capacity here. I don't do it at that scale to make buying 500 or 1,000 of something really all that terribly worthwhile to me. Maybe if it's a tiny little cotter pin, yeah, okay, I'll buy 1,000 of those, but I don't feel like investing that much in something. So I'm glad there's other people out there that will do that. And I'll do a full video when that diaphragm comes in. Assuming it does, I will do a full video on that, talk about it. And at the same time, one of the viewers of the channel brought up an old video from, 2015, 16, 17, somewhere in there. Oh, that is totally a junk number. Nice. Anything that starts with 855, is full of shit. Old video where I'd torn down an XL or something that had a diaphragm oiler, and had said something about, hey, there'll be a second video, and of all things, it doesn't look like I ever did a video that actually details the hose routing on just the basic diaphragm oiler XLs, XL2s, and Super 2s, so I'll do that at the same time. I haven't had that saw torn apart in a couple of years, so it's probably caked with sawdust and crap. Time to clean it out anyway, but that'll be coming, so that's a future video. Other future videos this fall will be probably limited to, if I do the dumb thing and buy any more saws for my collection, I've got this little, Partner, 1616. This is basically the same as a Skill, and there was a Frontier and Pioneer version and all that crap. That saw was given to me this spring when I did that run up north. And I was delivering a 360 back, and he's like, yeah, you might want to play with this thing. So I got it working. The oiler in those, it's a pressurized system, and there's an internal port with underneath the manual oil pump that just has a duckbill valve that goes directly into the tank. And that duckbill was hard as a rock, so it wasn't letting crankcase pressure in. So I've got that working. So I've still threatened, and I still intend to do a 30-ish cc cutoff, or a challenge with multiple saws. That would certainly be a part of that. Do a little more falling. Like I say, that XL500, I'd really love to get a day of running in on that. If I can run it for 15 minutes and not have it blip, then I know I've gotten the issue. What I think I did on that old tank, I think there's just a problem in that felt system, and I maintained it because I wanted it to be all original. And I just think there's a problem on the fuel pickup, and once it sucked fuel down just below where that fuel barb comes in, that's when it was starting to lean out and suck in air. So, anyway, that'll be a future video. Yeah. In terms of, we'll make this the final topic, I'm rambling now. In terms of accepting repairs in the shop again, I don't have a hard date on that. I've been telling everybody that it's going to be into 2024. I still think that's realistic to think that that's kind of where things are going to land. But I got to play it by ear. If this move is going to drag out too much because of things that are outside of my control, I may start taking in a limited number of repairs again. But I'm not ready to make that call yet. I need to get through a little bit more stuff in the way of move prep and cleaning the shop, and just, you get piles of crap that you think, oh, I'll deal with that later, and the later never comes. And this back here, these shelves, I had like 8 carburetors lined up down there, and a bunch of ignition parts that needed to be tested, and most of what's left there, it's still a mess, but I know what I'm doing with at least most of it. So I've been going through that, got started at the workbench and spreading out, and I want to keep doing that before I commit to any more work. But I could see a scenario where I'd start taking in smaller stuff, like doing some carburetor rebuilds, things like that. What I don't want is to fill up, 7, 8 saws at a time back in the woodshed of everybody, that needs a bigger repair, doing big piston jobs and stuff like that. That I'm not too inclined to do again for a while. But say, we'll play it by ear, and I'll give an individual update on that and try and give everybody a good notice on that. And I'm going to try and think of a way to do a fair system where folks don't feel like, I'm just telling this guy no, but this guy yes, yeah. So, anyway, to my original statement, I hope you all have a great Labor Day. I'm going to do some more cleaning here in the shop, drink some coffee, and yeah, try and relax for a day. So, we'll catch you on the next one.